All right, this is Rolling in Wonderland. It is a dice drafting strategy game set in the world of Alice's Adventures, okay? In this game, we have tumbled down the rabbit hole and we are encountering the various personalities of Wonderland, okay? So we've got the Mad Hatter, the White Rabbit, my personal favorite, Cheshire Cat, Alice herself, the Queen of Hearts, and the Caterpillar, okay? So, in this game, at the beginning of each round, what each player does is roll the 6 dice that they have in front of them. So I'm gonna ask you to roll those 6 dice, and I am going to roll my 6 dice as well. Okay. Now these dice do not belong to you, okay? You may notice that the faces you rolled correspond to the different Wonderland characters that we just saw. And after rolling, you are going to take each die and place it around the board, matching those characters, okay? So we're gonna take this hat and place it up here. We're gonna take this heart and place it over here, and so on, until all of the dice are placed around the board. Perfect, then we are set up for the round, okay? Now, on each player's turn, all that you're gonna do is select one of the 6 regions around the board and take all of its dice. Those dice, when you take them, they're going to go onto your character board, okay, which has spaces for 6 dice. When you have 6 dice in front of you, your round is over, okay? Now, when you take those dice from a given character, they are going to give you an action. And the more dice you take, the more powerful that action is going to be, okay? However, the more dice you take, the sooner your round will end. So you need to balance power with flexibility. The core push and pull in this game, the core tension of this game is, do you want to take many dice all at once for a very powerful action? Or do you want to pick off 1s and 2s to take more numerous actions, each of which though would be less powerful, okay? In addition, each player has 2 mushrooms, okay? And you may spend a mushroom on your turn to manipulate the dice. One of the ways that you can use those mushrooms is by turning a die to any face that you want. All right, so for example, let's say that you took these 3 Alice dice and there are no further dice in Alice's area, all right? But perhaps on my turn, I really want to take Alice's action. I might spend a mushroom to change this die from a rabbit to Alice so that it would move here, and then as my turn, take that and use it as my action, okay? So the mushrooms let us manipulate the dice. I'll go over what the actions are, and then we'll have a full sense of what we're doing in this game, okay? And I'm going to start over here with the Queen of Hearts. When you take dice from the Queen of Hearts, according to the number of dice you take, you will get to place some number of your card soldiers onto the board, okay? Now, the reason to place soldiers onto the board is that at the end of the game, each region is going to award points for having the most, second, or third most soldiers in that region. In addition, at the beginning of each round, we are going to draw one of these 6 Jabberwock cards, each corresponding to one of the 6 regions, and that is where the Jabberwock is going to attack that round, okay? Now, at the end of the round, the Jabberwock is going to award points for having the most, second, or third most soldiers in that region. All right, so that's what soldiers are doing for us. Alice here, when you take dice from her, let me return those dice to Alice. Alice has some challenges for us. When you take dice from Alice, she is going to both give you a challenge and allow you to use those dice to work towards completing challenges. Now, you can have up to 3 challenges on the go at a given time, and in addition to gaining one, for each die and the color of it that you draft, you can place 1 cube working towards finishing those challenges, all right? So that orange, let us go here, etc. Once eventually you manage to fill all of the spaces on a given challenge, you will wipe and bank that challenge for those points at the end of the game. Moving on to the White Rabbit, the dice that you draft from them will give you some amount of movement down the White Rabbit's path, okay? And this, dead simple, simply gives you the highest value points that you have reached or exceeded by the end of the game, so 3 points in this case. The Mad Hatter, when you draft dice from him, will give you some number of Mad Hatter cards. And these can be one-time use, which will give you powerful effects, or they can also be ongoing abilities that will build your skill set throughout the game. Cheshire Cat here will give you a mix of those benefits that we already saw, and those benefits are going to be randomized each game. However, when you take dice from Cheshire, the actions that you can access are limited by the colors of dice that were randomly rolled as cats, okay? And lastly, Caterpillar over here is going to have you advancing down the Caterpillar's path. As you do, just like the White Rabbit, you will be gaining points for the highest value space that you've reached by the end of the game, but each non-point space will give you some in-game benefits as well, the same ones that we've seen. And lastly, in this game, each player is going to start with one secret objective that will give you something to work towards from turn one. Each player will also have one special ability that will trigger only on a turn when you draft 4 or more dice at once. So yeah, that's about all that we've got going on here. Rolling in Wonderland is very family friendly and accessible, but for those who enjoy more complex games, maybe someone like me, I find that the real juice, the real fun comes from how these mushrooms let you manipulate dice to spot and set up clever plays and clever opportunities. So what we saw here is a prototype. This game is coming to Kickstarter at some point in 2025. And yeah, keep an eye out for it there.